When you're feeling ready, we're going to come down into a seated position today. So starting off upright, we're going to draw the hand onto the tummy and onto the chest. And just relax down the eyes, the jaw, the cheeks, and the forehead. Allowing all of the muscles in the face to become soft. Allow your awareness to travel towards the breath by just observing your natural rise and fall. In Yin, we don't place any emphasis on the length of breath, the pattern of breath. We don't make the breath follow a specific breath count. But we do relax down the shoulders, relax down all of the muscles in the body until the point where your breath is very naturally full. It breathes deep into the belly, into the base corners of your pelvis, into the top corners of your shoulders. It takes up the entirety of the torso. Well done. From here, we're going to take the legs out to either side. If this already feels a little bit too intense, you can swoop your right leg round and place it on your inner left thigh. We're going to gently frame that left leg and we walk the hands forwards and down, like so. We're going to relax with the forehead, the jaw, everything becomes heavy. And we begin to soften down here. If it feels too much when you're leaning over, then you might use your arms as a bit more of a yang energy. You might place the palms down and press into the ground and let the rest of your body melt heavily, whilst your arms monitor how deep into this pose you fall. In time, gravity will lower us down deeper and deeper. And although the sensations start off feeling quite intense, we should find that they begin to dissipate and melt away. The more we physically relax, the more we surrender into the pose, the less physical resistance from the body, usually the more enjoyable the pose becomes. If it ever feels too much or too intense, then we just listen to our body pressing away from the ground wherever we need, using the non-target areas of the pose. The target areas here are the legs, the hips, and the back. We have this lovely twist in the torso, which will amplify the sensations and allow them to travel into the side body. Allowing yourself to relax the physical muscles of the body allows you to go slightly deeper into what we often refer to in Yin as the Yin tissues of your body. These are harder, deeper, things like bones, joints, cartilage, ligaments. And it's thought that in day-to-day life, these areas can be underused due to them not liking impact or stress in those fast movements. Therefore, the muscles constantly contract and protect them, which is amazing in day-to-day life. But they do need to be moved in a way that they enjoy, which is these long, heavy holds in stillness without any abrupt movements. And it's thought to improve their length and their strength, so your range of motion and the strength of these areas, the strength of the bones. When you're feeling ready, we walk up lovely and tall, and we're going to move on to the other side. Again, if it feels right to draw the leg into the sole of the foot, then we draw the left sole, into the right inner thigh, and we gently fold over that leg. If we need the legs closer to one another, then we absolutely can draw that leg round so that we're not so wide within the pelvis. If you need to prop something underneath your knee, then that's absolutely fine. It just creates less of that pulling sensation. You decide whether you like to hang the head forwards or keep the neck engaged. You decide whether you feel comfortable completely releasing or whether you need a bit of time to soften into it. It's always completely up to you, and at the start of the practice it can feel a little bit unfamiliar, even if we're very routinely practicing yin. Shifting from that yang state into that yin state can be quite not intuitive, let's say. Whereas at the end of the practice, it feels very intuitive. We're just shifting states physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. Yin Yoga is amazing for the energy body as well as the physical body. Each pose is placing an emphasis on traditional Chinese medicine theory, the meridian system, the idea that there are ley lines traveling throughout your body, and that these ley lines carry prana or life force, and that this life force brings us an overall sense of well-being. We have this notion that it is constantly flowing to us and through our body. However, when we have areas of tension or blockage, areas of stagnancy, that we can begin to block that natural flow of energy. So when we practice yin, we have so many benefits and so many intentions. In a physical way, we're looking at releasing tension from the physical body by holding our poses, almost like placing your thumb into a knot until it dissipates, to enable energy to flow through that area. Energetically, we're looking at compressing and stimulating these meridians within our poses, with the intention to then come into a counter pose where the energy can freely flow. We're here for around 3 more breath cycles. However, if we need to leave early, that's absolutely fine. Well done. When you're feeling ready, we're moving into our next pose. We swoop the left leg round, and we're going to draw our shin until it's parallel to the front of the room. If you feel comfortable too, we're going to take this leg and either place it like so for a forward fold half square, or for a gentle approach, we could hook that foot all the way in towards the thigh. And for some, this will feel like a gentle approach, and for others, it will feel really intense. It's all about how your hips are specifically made, so don't worry if that feels really intense. In this one, we have this leg squared off and this leg drawing in. And then finally, we have the probably most intense version where we stack the shins. We have knee underneath foot and knee over foot. If you find that you then relax into the pose and one foot slips down, all the way down the shin or all the way in towards you, that's absolutely fine. From here, we can either stay upright like so. You could relax your hands in your lap, on your shin, down by your side, or we could forward fold, whichever feels right for you. The forward fold will really intensify the sensations in your hips, so just listen to your body. There is no right or wrong here. We're going to close down the eyes, and if the closing of the eyes really stimulates internal chatter, either stick with it, or if it's uncomfortable, then allow your drishti to still, so your pupils become really still, focusing anywhere on the ground in front of you. We're going to allow the eyelids to become heavy. Relax your cheeks, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders down and away from your ears. You might relax the back of the neck. You might forward fold. Listen to your body, and most importantly, the target area, which is from the belly button down to your feet, is completely soft and relaxed, melting with gravity into the pose. Allow yourself, as you become heavy, to pay attention to the sensations that you can feel within the target area. They'll feel different for every body and every practice. Sometimes these feelings will feel more like warmth or coolness or movement. Just listening to your body. The sensations that start in the pose often feel really intense, very attention grabbing. However, the more we relax, the more we soften, the less resistance we have, the more enjoyable the pose becomes. Not even just bearable, but it often melts into quite an enjoyable sensation. We often don't want to leave the pose once we've sunk into it. This can take minutes to get there, or it can take weeks of practice, minutes at a time to get there. However, that sensation of relaxing, allowing yourself to breathe through it, that discipline and compassion of finding a sensation that feels intense but not painful, and just sitting with it and showing yourself that you can breathe through whatever comes up, can be really powerful, and it often ends in a really enjoyable pose. And the same can be said for the silence and the stillness that we sit with in Yin. At the start of the practice, the mind can see that stillness as very uncomfortable, unproductive, and it can see the silence as something that needs to be filled. However, as we shift energetically more into that yin-like state simply by holding the pose. That silence and that stillness not only becomes more bearable, but it often becomes something that is quite enjoyable, quite relaxing, quite needed. When you're ready, we're going to swap sides, but first we're going to come into a counter pose. So use your hands, if you can, to send your legs long. And we're going to take a really simple counter pose here. So you just drop your arms back, so you're on your forearms, palms facing forward, and you're just relaxing here. So from the side, just looks like this. You don't have to drop your head and neck back. If that feels a bit intense for you, you can keep the head and neck lifted if you prefer. Allow your legs to be just as soft and heavy, just as unengaged, just as still as they are in the poses themselves. And then when you're feeling ready, we make our way up. We don't need as long in the counter poses as we do in the poses, just to feel that benefit. So this time we're going to take the right leg out. You could extend the left leg. You could hook that left foot right in towards your pelvis, or you could stack your left foot on top of the right knee. So find your perfect variation of this pose. Once we've found our variation, we're going to relax our hands into our lap. Relax your forehead and your eyelids. Release your jaw and soften down. Melting heavily into your present moment. Showing yourself that compassion of finding your edge, which is the point in which feels intense. Gravity lowers you down to where you can't really lower down anymore, but it's never painful. We always want to be halfway between that scale of intensity where we can't feel it at all, we can feel it far too much that we can't even focus. We want to be in the middle. It might ebb and flow a little bit throughout, but overall, we'd like the intensity to be relatively gentle. If there's any resistance in your body, give it permission where you can to settle down. It's thought that in day-to-day life, when we're hungry, we can become agitated. When we're mentally stressed, the body can become tense. When we're sad, the body can move slower. When we're anxious, the body can become jittery. So we know that there is this very strong interconnection or interconnectivity between the brain and the body. We know that one's state can affect the other's state. So in Yin, we're simply taking what we can control, which is the stilling of the body, the relaxation of the muscles. And then we do have these secondary benefits of the meridian system, or you could call those the first benefits as well. And the longer we spend in that still state, where we are relaxed, we're heavy, we're surrendering with the body into the pose, there is a lack of resistance, then the more we fall into that yin-like state, where there is nothing but acceptance and allowing, there is a lack of resistance. That natural flow of energy that is thought to be coming to us at every moment and flowing through us at every moment by simply allowing it to flow through us. We're allowing that sense of well-being, clearing away all resistance. It's thought that within the muscles we hold a lot of tension and emotion. And as we go even deeper into the yin tissues of the body, that we might hold longer held emotion and tension and memories. So if you do find your mind wandering really far back, then just allow yourself to observe in silence. No matter how attached the thought feels, we allow ourselves to take a step back into what we call in Yin the observer state, or the witness, where we can watch a thought from stillness, and the thought itself is also still, meaning we're not tracing the conversation back, we're not adding anything to the thought, we're not adding any emotion, we're not adding any judgment, reaction, response. We're just observing it in its stillness, free from the responsibility to have to do anything at all other than watch. Once we've observed the thought in stillness, you might shift your awareness back to the breath, back to the sensations you feel, back to your body, re-grounding. We do this again and again in Yin, no matter how many times the mind wanders. Sometimes the intensity of the emotions that arise can feel quite similar to the sensations that we feel in Yin, or to the silence and stillness becoming more bearable. We might start off with a thought that already comes attached with an emotion or an energy to it. And when we allow it just to exist in our present moment, we just watch the thought, and we take that step back out of the ego or the identity and just observe, as if it's completely separate from us. We're just the one watching. We have no judgment towards the thought. And that ability to sit with discomfort, not just physically, not just sitting with unfamiliar silence and stillness, but the ability to sit with uncomfortable emotions arising, can be really powerful off the mat. Just allowing yourself to send acceptance towards yourself in your wholeness, towards your present moment, no matter what you're experiencing. Observing each thought as separate from you. Well done. We're coming into our next pose. We're going to grab our bolster, and if we don't have a bolster, we could grab a pillow and then draw it right in towards us. We're going to draw the pelvis right close to the bolster's base and come forwards like so. So this is our option one. Just relax down. Your big toes are touching and your knees are about as wide as the mat. Option two is a little bit more intense. Rather than the knees coming forwards, the knees send a little bit backwards. The big toes still touch, but this time we have a diamond in the legs. Option three, the most intense, is our froggy. Depending on how high your bolster is, it might feel comfortable, it might not. Depending on whether you have hard ground, it might feel comfortable, it might not. So you would guide your knee to align from a bird's eye view with your hip joint on both sides. You would then draw your shins parallel to the outside wall. This can feel really intense. So if it feels too much, then just draw those legs back together. If it feels too much still, draw the knees back to your diamond or forward to your forward-facing hero. When you're feeling ready, we relax down. We soften with the jaw, with the eyelids, with the cheeks. Everything becomes heavy. When we're in introspective positions, where the heart space is closing off, the body is facing down, it's thought that the mind can often wander to a place of reflection. Just observe wherever your mind wanders, if you notice it does wander. Often when we know the practice is coming to an end, the brain has a funny way of beginning to remind us of our to-dos of the day, detracting from our last moments in our yin practice. Allow yourself as much time as you can in that state of being rather than doing. The most productive thing that we can do for our cognitive function, for our well-being, is to remain in a meditative state when we can. So when we allow ourselves to dedicate that time to practicing yin, allow yourself to be fully present whenever you can. Allow that complete heaviness through every muscle. I often find that when my mind starts to wander, my face muscles begin to engage. So quite a nice technique can be, rather than trying to simply return the mind back to present, which can be difficult to shift and just let go of the thought. You can be tempted to push the thought away or to pull it in for further conversation. I find that simply returning my awareness to the face muscles, physically relaxing them down, melting down through the shoulders, melting down through the target area, just reminding myself to be physically heavy and relaxed. And then just observing the sensations, observing the breath, observing the stillness can be a nice way to shift to present and release the thought. Whenever you're feeling ready, as slowly as you can, really slowly, use your hands a lot here, make your way up and back. We're going to come onto our back, but we'll have our bolster nearby for our final pose. So we're starting off with a little counter pose, which is just a twisted roots on both sides. So that means you'll draw your left leg up and over like so, just allowing yourself to remain heavy through the whole body apart from that right arm. We relax down through the jaw, through the eyelids, through the cheeks, and we allow ourselves to be non-doing. When we allow ourselves to be heavy like this, just completely sinking into the mat, becoming as heavy as we can, we're physically doing nothing in the hope that we can shift our energy into a state of being rather than doing, accepting and allowing, observing without judgment. Similarly, we hope it has the same effect on the mind, on our emotional body, more stillness. Just allowing that knock-on effect to each part of ourselves. When you're ready, we plant that left leg down. We draw the right leg up towards us, and then we roll onto our side. Relax down through the jaw. Relax down through the shoulders. A lot of the poses in Yin target the hips specifically, because the hips are thought to act as a crossroads for 6 of the lower body meridians. Similarly to how the shoulders work as the same crossroads for the upper body meridians. The shoulders, hips, back and neck, alongside some other areas, but these are the main areas, are thought to hold a lot of tension. And it's thought that throughout the week we can begin to build up tension. And that when we come into our Yin practice, we're just releasing it away. Sometimes you can feel that physical release or dispersion, melting heavier after. Sometimes it might be more of an emotional shift or an energetic shift into that more Yin-like state. And it's thought that when the meridians are blocked, that we can begin to feel emotions in excess or lack. We can begin to feel improper function of certain internal organs. So we just allow ourselves to bring that balance back into the meridian body, back into our emotional body, back into our yin-yang body. It's thought that throughout the week, when we're constantly on the go, taking action, deciding, responding, reacting, making emotional responses. All of these things are amazing in day-to-day life. They help us function. However, we need a break and that shift into Yin. We need a perfect balance of Yin and Yang. Even when we're sleeping and our body is Yin, the mind is still active, working out complex emotions and situations, coming up with solutions. So we need time in meditative states, which Yin provides. Yin allows us to receive the benefits of meditation without having to sit still for 30 minutes and allow that discipline of constantly gliding back to nothingness. We can instead focus on the sensations that we feel. When you're ready, we're going to draw the legs back together, coming into our final position, and you can absolutely take a regular Savasana here if that feels more correct for you. However, if you would like to grab the bolster, then we can also instead draw the knees wide for a supine butterfly. This can be quite a nice way to round off our hip session, just because we're allowing that really deep opening here. The bolster can be a nice added benefit for some, and then others might want to get rid of the bolster and just lay flat on the ground instead. Whenever you're feeling ready, we're going to relax the arms, relax the hips wide, relax your jaw, allow a softness in your lips. Allow a slowness in your breath. And allow yourself here to be completely non-doing. It's normal for the mind to really switch on at this point. Give yourself permission to be still. Stillness becomes more and more enjoyable the more time we spend there. There is a discomfort to changing states, but it's often not the state itself that we are overly opposed to. If your mind begins to wander, simply observe where it's wandered to and guide it gently back to present. We're here for a few more breaths. When you're feeling comfortable and ready, slowly bring movement into your fingers and your toes. Slowly send your arms back and your legs long. Imagine that you are the rope in a tug of war. And then draw yourself gently onto one side. Guiding your hands into Anjali Mudra. Namaste.